Hi everyone, my name is Manal and welcome to EduShastra. Today we're going to start off with a very important topic, which is main idea. Now, main idea questions are seen in both CAT and GMAT level examinations. But of course, when it comes to CAT, you can have as many as 5 to 7 questions on main idea, which means at 3 marks per question, it's about 15 to 21 marks. So if you want to score that many marks, then you need to focus and understand main idea. So let's start. But before we begin, the first thing that you need to know, and the one primary thing that most students go wrong with, is inability to differentiate between main ideas and small ideas. Now this is very, very important. Because you see, in your entire passage, your 500, 600 word passage, there is one main idea. But there are multiple small ideas. Can you see the small, tiny little s at the end of small ideas? That's your hint. There can be 5, 7, 10, 20 small ideas strewn across your 500 word passage. And when you see so many different pointers throughout the passage, that's where it gets confusing. Because that's when you're thinking, is this my main idea? Is this my main idea? It could be anything. All of them are mentioned in the passage, so how do I know? Now, this is where understanding the difference between both of these is very, very important. So let's start off with the basic. What's a main idea? Main idea, in very, very simple terms, is the overall idea of your passage. Now, that's not rocket science to understand. Overall idea, basically what the author is trying to tell you, or what is his exact opinion. But it's not easy to catch this. So the good way, or the better way to catch your main idea is to first figure out your small ideas and then eliminate them. So let's understand what are small ideas. They are all the reasons and data points that help justify the main idea. Now, when I talk about data points, first of all, what constitutes data points? So you have statistics, dates, examples, surveys, reports, and quotes. So you must have noticed, if you've practiced some of your previous year's papers or some questions online, you must have noticed that in your entire passage, you will have several statistics. You might have some dates here and there. You might have examples. You might even have quotes. These are the classic points which are there in almost every passage, right? Now, why are these points mentioned in your passage? So you have to understand that an author, or maybe you and I, when we are trying to express an idea, when the author is trying to express his main idea, he is going to use statistics to prove that idea. He will want to use dates or maybe quotes by some famous personalities to prove his idea. He is going to use examples to prove the idea. Let's say, for example, I come to you and I pass a statement that Deepika Padukone is the best actress in India. That's a very strong sentiment, isn't it? You might not agree with it. You might be someone who's reading the news every day and thinking she's been called in by the NCB and she's probably taking drugs and she's probably in the inner circle wherein there's a lot of favoritism going on. So maybe she's not that great an actress. But my idea is that she's the best actress. So how do I go on to prove that? I'm probably going to use maybe statistics to say that according to XYZ survey of all Indian actresses, Deepika Padukone ranked on number 2 after Madhuri Dixit. That's a statistic. I can say that in the year 2016, Deepika Padukone gave 4 hits to Bollywood. 4 movies that crossed 100 crores or billions or whatever in terms of revenues. That's a statistic. That's also a date, 2016, right? I can maybe give you a quote that Richard Gere, who is considered a great celebrity worldwide, he was quoted once that he has never seen any actress better than Deepika Padukone. Quote right there. So you may not want to agree with me at the end of the day, but this is my main idea, and this is me using statistics, dates, examples, and quotes to prove it. So now let's go to a passage. Of course, this is a small passage. You're going to get much longer passages in your exam. But we're going to use this passage to identify small ideas. So we're going to look out for all of our small ideas, find them. We're also going to break down the passage in the process and understand what is our overall content. Okay? Now, I'm not going to pause the video here, but for those of you who are still reading, which I'm sure it's most of you, you all can pause your video, and once you finish reading, you can restart it. So as you can see, this passage is very simply talking about America and what are the ideas of the American population, how Americans feel that the immigration and refugee policies are not very favorable for them, maybe. It talks about Trump and his statements against Arabs and Mexicans. It's talking about some research or survey which was conducted by Prescott Papers talking about how racist attacks are rising in the United States. It's talking about media channels. So there's lots of information put in here. And when these points, they come in your exam, in your options, you might think, okay, news channels is mentioned, that could be my main idea. Okay, racist attacks is mentioned, that could be my main idea. So let's break down this passage. First of all, news channels such as CNN and Fox News. Now, CNN and Fox News are given to you as examples of news channels which have committed the error or the mistake or maybe the action of gaslighting certain aspects, right? So what are CNN and Fox News here? They're both examples, right? They're both examples of news channels, such as the two words such as are your keywords. Whenever you read such as in your exam, whenever you read example, or you read like, these words, they tell you that whatever is going to follow is now an example. And we've already done this in the previous slide, that examples are your small ideas, which means that CNN and Fox News is not your main idea. Simple. Let's move on. The next thing talks about how Trump in 2016, he passed certain statements, blasphemous, preposterous statements against Arabs and Mexicans. Now here the date 2016 is once again a small idea, because we've again done this, the dates are your smaller ideas, which means that the point which mentions, or the part which mentions that 2016 was the year when those blasphemous comments were passed and how Trump came to power, that year of 2016 is not your main idea. Moving on, survey. You know surveys are small ideas. Survey was conducted by Prescott Papers. What does that survey show? It shows that racist attacks have increased. Now they've given you a statistic, 6% year on year this decade as compared to 2% year on year last year. This entire point, the survey, the Prescott Papers, survey was conducted by the Prescott Papers. And what does that survey prove? The statistics that it is proving, all of it is your small idea. Okay. Right at the beginning, we had a quote by Mr. Johnson, a child specialist from Austin, Texas. And what does Johnson say? Johnson says that he or maybe his fellow Americans are disgruntled by the nation's immigration and refugee policy. Now, this is a quote. You can see your quotations on both sides. We again know that quotes are small ideas, which means that Johnson's opinion specifically is not the main idea of your passage, right? Now let's look at these two little words, proof and prove. So the idea that Trump came to power in 2016 despite his blasphemous statements against Arabs and Mexicans, that idea is proving something, right? That idea is proving something. Now that Trump's statements is your small idea, that small idea is proving something. What is it proving? It is proof of the synchronous ideas of the Orthodox American. So what is my small idea of Trump proving? It's proving that Americans have orthodox ideas. Come to the next part. The survey of Prescott papers, okay? Then what does it say? All of this goes to prove that no matter what the liberal says, the American is leading towards an enclosed society. Once again, you have the word proof. What is that word saying? That everything that has come above, all of these tiny little points that have come above, they are all proving that the American is leaning towards an enclosed society. So my small ideas, all my tiny ideas here and there, they are proving something. That's their purpose, right? And what are they proving? They're proving that Americans have orthodox ideas, number one, and number two, that the American is leading towards an enclosed society. Now, this is us scrutinizing the entire passage. But take 30 seconds and think about it. Think about what this passage is trying to tell you. Your passage or your author, through various points, is trying to prove that the American society is enclosed. That Americans are maybe orthodox, maybe not all Americans, but the American society in general is enclosed. And how is he proving that? By giving you a quote by an American who's living in Austin, Texas, by telling you how the media is reacting, how the media is acting against immigration, telling you about how Trump came to power or was elected by the common Americans despite his anti-immigration policies and despite his anti-Arab and Mexican statements, and how racist attacks in the United States have increased. All four small ideas proving the points that America is enclosed. So if you go to see this entire part from the quotation to the last decade, this entire part is just your small idea. And your main idea is just one sentence, or maybe one sentence in the beginning and one sentence at the end. And that's how it happens in the exam. That's why it becomes so confusing, because your main idea could be brushed off in one sentence, and then your small ideas could take up 80% of your passage. So you've completely lost track of your main idea, and now your focus is on all of the small, tiny ideas across the passage. It's very important to understand that the weightage of every point in the passage is not always synonymous or is not always commensurate with the main idea. Okay? So now, if I ask you the question, what is the main idea of this passage? You have 4 options mentioned out here. Read all 4 options. You have 10 seconds. Think and tell me, what do you think is the main idea? Okay. Let's discuss. If you need some more time, you can obviously pause your screen. Option A is talking about news channels. CNN, Fox News. We've already covered that. Those 2 are examples, so they're small ideas. Option B is talking about Trump. We've again covered that the Trump idea was mentioned to prove orthodoxy. So Trump itself is a small idea. Option C is talking about racist attacks in the US over the rise. Once again, a small idea, because the point of racist attacks was expressed via a survey by Prescott Papers and using some statistics, all of which are your small ideas. So yes, option number D is your correct answer, which is the American population prefers an enclosed society. Now, if you look at all four of your options, you have to understand that all four of them are given to you somewhere in the passage. It's not like there's an option which is completely out of context. You look at that option and you're like, this is not given. Obviously, this is not right. So it's not going to be so easy in your paper wherein you're going to get options which are out of context or out of the scope of the passage. You might in some cases, but in most cases, you will get options which are all mentioned in your passage somewhere or the other. So in your brain, you might actually think that they're all correct. But that's the test. You have to understand out of all of them, which is your small idea and which is your main idea. I hope this helps you understand your main idea concept. You can obviously practice a lot of main idea questions from resources online or from wherever you feel like. Very important topic once again. Please meet us the next time because our next video is going to talk about purpose. You must have noticed that in your previous year's exams or in any kind of practice that you've done, purpose questions are also asked very frequently. What is the purpose of a certain statement, or what is the purpose of a certain example? So next passage or next video, we're going to cover purpose questions. Until then, take care, keep studying and stay happy.